Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fam, fantasy baseball players. The trade deadline has just ended. There were a flurry of moves down the stretch. Pierre, it was like a tornado, like a whirlwind. How did you keep up with everything?
I haven't. I'm just trying to figure it out and catch up on all. It's like a trickle, or like we'll see a couple of moves each day, and no, this was just like wait to the last minute, then all hell breaks loose, and there's like a 1,000 transactions we have to figure out, and so catching up. But I'm glad stuff happened because man, it was starting to shape up to be a really boring trade deadline. There weren't as many major moves. There wasn't like a huge superstar, you could say. I mean, it's debatable whether Suarez is a superstar. I don't think he technically is, but not as many major names as in past years. And some guys didn't get traded that were rumored, but there's still a lot to kind of parse through here.
Yeah, and let's start with that guy, Eugenio Suarez. Probably was the kind of the biggest name that was expected to get traded, and he did, to the Mariners. And don't forget, they also, a couple days ago, traded for Josh Naylor. In return, the Diamondbacks get Tyler Locklear and some pitching prospects that probably won't help your fantasy team this year. So break down this trade for me. Like, what is this Seattle lineup? Kind of scary now.
Well, Seattle, okay, so this is one of those deals in real life, great for Seattle. And I kind of did this with Naylor, which did happen, a few days ago. Not great for him in terms of moving from Arizona to Seattle. Well, guess what? Suarez is also moving from Arizona to Seattle. It's not great for him. And so I will say, eerily enough, some of my second half bold predictions have already come true. But the one about Suarez having a better second half, now I'm a little worried. It may not happen. Maybe it does. I really thought he might go to the Dodgers or the Yankees or a team where he had a chance to really maybe have a better situation offensively for him personally. And Seattle's not it, right? And we've seen him in Seattle. That's the thing. And when he was in Seattle, he did not have one of his best seasons, right? He's doing it so far this year. He's done it before, but Seattle's just not a great hitter's park. It just isn't. And his numbers at Seattle, if you look at them, when he was there a couple years ago, they weren't his best. They were good. I mean, he's still going to be their best slugger. But for fantasy purposes, this doesn't actually improve anything for him. Not that he needed improving. So it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, you still start him every day, right? So just not the ideal landing spot. But it's good for Seattle, and it is good in the sense that it should help the entire offense because now that lineup is actually looking pretty fierce.
Yes, it is. Maybe not a team you feel good streaming against going forward. We shall see. What about the Padres? They might have been the biggest buyers at the trade deadline. They got Mason Miller from the A's and JP Sears from the A's, Roman Laureano, and Ryan O'Hearn. So apparently the Padres are all in.
The Padres, this is they're the big head scratcher this year. And this like from the Rams a couple years ago where, what was his name? The GM last season, like, screw them picks. We don't need draft picks. AJ Preller for the Padres, like, who needs prospects? We don't need farm system. For their sake, like, I hope they win the World Series this year, because if not, you're going to be looking at an empty cupboard for the next couple of years. So they traded away their top prospect, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, Leo DeVries. And you're like, all right, well, the guy's like, I don't know, 19 years old. Maybe that doesn't make a difference, for a while. It's worth it. I don't know, because they did that to get the one thing that they needed the least, which was to get a closer. Like, that's like the last possible thing that they could have needed. Like, let's do that. Let's go all in on that. They already had the best bullpen ERA in the majors, I believe. And so they decided, let's strengthen our bullpen. Okay, fine. It's not a bad thing, right? You can never have too many bullpen arms. And you're going to see also some of the other major teams they're contending with did the same thing. So it's like an arms race. It just doesn't make sense when you look at it in a vacuum. This deal does not make sense to get Mason Miller and give up your top prospect when that's not what you needed. So they did do some minor things. I thought it would have made more sense if they would have gone for a bigger bat instead, addressed left field. The offense is what needs help. The offense Okay, Ramon Laureano, sure, he's having his best season. Is he really the answer? I don't know. And then Ryan O'Hearn also doesn't make sense on paper because it's like him and Gavin Sheets, who's already there, like Spider-Man meme, like you got the same guy you already had. It's confusing. It's just confusing. The Padres, I mean, on the one hand, you're like, okay, they're all in, but is this actually helping their team? I don't know. I mean, it's just weird. What they need, really, I guess, is just for Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis and all those guys who are already there, just actually like pick it up.
Yeah, that would help. Let's talk about a trade that I think probably did help a team that did need it. That is the Phillies getting Johan Duran, the ex-closer for the Twins, who will now be almost assuredly the closer for the Phillies. In return, the Twins get Mick Abel. If you got Duran, how are you feeling these days?
Well, you probably honestly kind of feel the same. You should feel kind of the same. You're like, well, he went to a much better team. But here's the thing with the Phillies, and you know this, they just don't commit to anybody, right? They don't have a guy. You're like, well, they didn't have a guy, right? Nobody was trustworthy. Well, how do you know if you don't ever trust a guy to try to be the guy, right? They would always jerk back and forth every other week, somebody different. Um, and I don't know, Duran's going to be kind of like he's been in Minnesota, where he's like the 1A. And, Jack's always been there as the 1B. Doesn't really get a lot of saves, but they'll mix and match. And I feel like his save numbers will kind of be the same despite going to a much better team. He's still a closer in fantasy. He's still a guy you put in your lineup. He's great for the Phillies. But I'll tell you the team that I think, on the other hand, the Padres were the most confusing. I can't say the worst. It just didn't make sense what they did, but we'll see how it pays off. The Twins, for being sellers, I mean, it's easy to say, well, you won, you did smart things because you sold. Well, of course, you get prospects back, you feel good about the future. But the Twins made smart trades. Their trades all made sense, and they got good value back. So I really like the Twins getting Mick Abel, because Mick Abel, a talented young arm, he didn't last in the rotation, and Philly doesn't have the patience to wait and see if he can figure it out in the playoffs, right? The Twins can give him a long leash. They can let him be in that rotation. So I like what the Twins did, and I like Abel in Minnesota. I think that might actually be a great landing spot.
Yeah, and speaking of the Twins, they weren't done, because after the Duran trade, a lot of people thought Griffin Jax was just going to be the closer. But then he got traded to the Rays for Taj Bradley. So they added a couple arms here. Griffin Jax, I guess they had seen enough after he gave up 3 earned runs without getting an out in his one save opportunity post Duran. So what does this mean for, I guess, Griffin Jax, if you were expecting him to be a closer, and, Taj Bradley now on the Twins? How you feel about that?
And I mentioned this last week on the waiver wire. This is the time to speculate on guys who could be the closer if they're, the guy in front of him gets traded. Griffin Jackson's one, but I also said he could get traded too. And here we go. So the Twins were smart, right? Trade their in-demand bullpen, veteran arms, get something back. So Jax, maybe he's not fit to be the ninth inning guy anyways. He's a really, really good setup man. He's just going to probably be a really good setup man in Tampa too, because I don't think Pete Fairbanks got traded, and Tampa doesn't commit to anybody anyways either. So Griffin Jax now, look, I picked him up in our league just in case he became the closer. I'm going to drop him. You can drop him. Unless your league counts holds, you probably had him anyways. But if it doesn't count holds, you can drop Griffin Jax. But again, I like Taj Bradley to the Twins. Not sure what he did to make Tampa really want to get rid of him so badly, but they did. He went to the Twins. I like the Twins rotation is shaping up to be very interesting for the future.
All right. Well, the trade deadline got to have some big teams involved. What about the Yankees? We knew about the Ryan McMahon trade that happened a few days ago. Now the everyday third baseman there, which is great for him. But they went out and got but 2 closers, David Bednar and Camilo Doval. Now I know, look, your bullpen can never be good enough, but I mean, if you were relying on either of these guys as your closer, how are you feeling about them right now?
Well, it's what you can do if you're the Yankees. You can go out and get like 4 or 5 closers and have them all in one team. And this effectively kills the value of pretty much all of these guys. Honestly, I'm not really even sure if they'll have a guy because typically they would. Maybe it's still just going to be Devin Williams, but they don't have to, right? Why choose? Almost like, well, you got all these guys with experience. I think Duvall will not be the ninth inning guy because he's been very inconsistent. Bednar absolutely could, but does he have to just go immediately and take over that role because he's been so dominant? Not necessarily. So I hate to say it, but you might have four closers who, it's like if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, like you might have four closers, you don't only have one. They could each get saves. They could all be in the mix here. A guy has two bad turns, he might be out. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but again, if you're not in a league that counts holds, they're all very sketchy at this point.
All right, well, let's keep going with closers getting their value wrecked, I suppose, because the Mets went out and traded for Ryan Helsley, who was the closer, I believe, for the Cardinals, right? But now the Mets have Edwin Diaz, so don't think he's going to rack up too many more saves. And then I guess Phil Maton, who looked like maybe the next man up, he went to Texas, who already has closers as well. So Ryan Helsley, he was already dropped in our league. I saw he was already dropped in our league. Are you just out on him now?
Well, yeah, he's not getting saves. Again, there's no point holding him in fantasy unless your league counts holds. He's not going to be the closer there unless Diaz gets hurt, realistically. So it's tough when you have a guy who came into the year as a top 5 closer in terms of where you drafted him, guy who led the NL in saves, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, he becomes worthless. But that's baseball. That's how it goes. And then the rich get richer, and then the teams like the Cardinals now we're scrounging, and that's one of those teams now. Honestly, if you ask me who's going to be their closer going forward, I don't know, because it would have been Maton, but he got traded, and like I saw, a lot of people think it's Jojo Romero. He's like a situational lefty. He's fine, but do I trust him to get saves the rest of the season? They have King. They have like a bunch of guys, but it's just a bunch of guys. It's like maybe you don't have to have whoever the closer is for the Cardinals. Is all I'm saying, because we don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, a lot of closers value just gone right now for a lot of guys. Let's go to the Tigers. Obviously, contenders. They went out, got some arms. They got Chris Paddock and Kyle Finnegan. Look, Chris Paddock had a nice stretch earlier in the year, kind of struggled, but his first start with the Tigers, he was great. So are you buying into these guys in Detroit?
So Paddock is a sneaky one. This might be one of those moves that kind of goes under the radar because, not a big name. He's kind of be at the back end of that rotation. This is a better situation for him. We talked about Minnesota doing smart things, trading Paddock to a contender who needs an arm like this, I think was a good move. But this could be good for Paddock as well. He has been good in spurts. This is a great situation for him. So I think Paddock is a nice sneaky ad that I'm going to recommend, this weekend. And then Finnegan, he's been the closer for Washington. Some people just assume, well, he'll be the setup guy because Vest was the closer in Detroit. You were telling me this, and it's absolutely true. You're like, well, the Tigers don't really just use one guy. Like they don't really have. It's the same thing I was talking about earlier. Like might see the Yankees. They're going to mix and match, right? It's like, do we know who the guy's going to be, or is it just going to be both of them? Vest and Finnegan.
Yeah, I don't know. I dropped Vest even before the trade happened because he just wasn't getting save opportunities. So, yeah. And then one more, I guess, big one here, or big-ish. The Astros got Carlos Correa, shortstop from the Twins. So Twins definitely made a lot of moves here. Does this do anything for Carlos Correa in fantasy?
No, I mean, it's a nice, I guess, a nice reunion for him and for the Astros. Carlos Correa hasn't been relevant, for a while. A lot of people were optimistic this year. He just has to stay healthy. Like, no, Carlos Correa's best days, I think, are behind him. This kind of patches up a hole at third base because Correa is actually, you're like, well, wait, isn't Pena coming back? Don't panic. Jeremy Pena is coming back. Carlos Correa is going to play third base because Isaac Paredes seems like he's done for the year. So Correa is going to have to learn third base. I don't know. I'm not picking him up if he was out there. I don't think this is going to do anything fantasy wise unless he's just so happy to be back there that all of a sudden he starts going nuts. But I'm not going to assume that happens.
All right, and then real quick, just some kind of under the radar moves because we do got to get to your questions here. The Cardinals got Blaze Jordan. The Giants got Drew Gilbert, Tidwell, and Buto from the Mets. The Reds got Zach Littell, Cabrian Hayes, and Miguel Andujar. Any of these moves do anything for you?
And there's a ton of small, minor moves that I'm not going to go through all of them, but these stuck out to me. First of all, if you want to talk about a sleeper, a move that the Cardinals did make when trading from their bullpen, they got Blaze Jordan. This guy who's going to get some playing time potentially, just somebody to keep an eye on. I like his upside, more long term. I think the Mets, sure, they patched up their bullpen. They got Helsley as not even the closer, but a setup guy, and they got Rogers. I can't believe what they gave up just to get Rogers, who's like a seventh inning guy. They gave up one of their top outfield prospects, Drew Gilbert, who a lot of people are high on, Blake Tidwell, who is still one of their better prospects. And then Jose Buto, I know he's been kind of uneven in the majors so far, but he's still got some potential. I can't believe they gave up all of that just for a bullpen arm. So the Giants, I think between buying low on Devers when they did weeks ago and doing this, I think the Giants probably made the smartest moves. They didn't make a lot of moves, but I think they came out like bandits in these moves. And I think the Reds probably win the prize for the most most boring deals. They made several moves, all of which have moved the needle in no direction either way. Like this was going to do absolutely nothing for you. Zach Littell, if you thought he was boring before, now he's going to a worse situation in Cincinnati. Don't put Zach Littell in your lineups. Cabrian Hayes, going to that ballpark, not going to help him. Not going to help him at all. And I don't think it's going to help the Reds, except that it gives them good defense at third base. So what? And Miguel, I just don't know what you're doing. Honestly, they might as well have just not done anything at the trade deadline. We have the same record.
All right, there we go. That's most of the ones that matter. Of course, there are many more, and of course, you got questions, and we're gonna get to those now. And let me remind you, it's your first time or you forgot, and you don't want to wait, you're impatient. You can drop that super chat that will get you to the front of the line. Not a necessity, but if you're impatient or if you're just feeling generous, you just want to say thanks. Drop that super chat and we'll get right to your question, which is a perfect segue to Durf Boy, who did drop the super chat. So, with Mason Miller going to San Diego and Matan going to Texas, are these guys now the closers?
Great question. This is why in the very beginning I railed against the Padres, and a lot of people are questioning this. Why did you make such a big move to get a closer when you already have a really good closer in Suarez? There was some speculation that Suarez might get dealt. He's been really good. Look, he had a couple of bad appearances. Mason Miller's had a couple of bad appearances this season too. There's not a big difference between these guys. Miller sure has more arm talent, but so what? That doesn't matter. Who gets the job done? They both can get the job done. So what I worry here, and there's some speculation that maybe they're not using Miller even not only as a closer, but even as a bullpen arm. Maybe they want to try him out eventually going back to a starter. Remember, he was a guy who would have been a starter except for injuries. And so they had to move him to the bullpen, right? Limit his pitch count. I don't think we see that this year. That's too late in the year to start that. That would be odd to do that now. But that said, I don't know if he'll be the closer when they already got Suarez in that role. I'm not going to drop Mason Miller, of course, if I have him. But this might be a mix and match situation. But I will say, I'm not convinced he's going to be the closer unless they come out and say tonight, maybe they did, that he is the closer. But I would be surprised if they did that. And then I hate to answer it this way, but I'm going to have to say what I've been saying about the Rangers bullpen. You know what I've been saying about the Rangers bullpen. I don't care who's the closer. I just don't care. It's it's a mess. I don't want any part of it. And Maton's not like a close. He's not got that experience. Do I trust him? No, forget it.
All right. There you go. Thank you for that. And then Paul Skeens enjoyer just checking in, but he wants to let you know tonight he's a Pierre Camus enjoyer.
Appreciate you, Philip.
All right. Fantasy sports. Who is the closer to own in San Francisco now that Camilo Doval is gone? Is it Randy Rodriguez or Ryan Walker?
Great question. Now, this one I feel pretty confident we know it should be Rodriguez. I think it will be Rodriguez because what we've seen with Walker, not just that he hasn't been good this year, he's been better, but that's because they're using him in lower leverage situations. Not only does he not have a save in forever, he hasn't even been getting holds. I think Rodriguez has just got to be the guy. I mean, this just makes way too much sense. So I'm not putting money on Walker getting that job back. I think it's Rodriguez. He's the guy to own. St. Louis, I don't know.
All right. And then he's got another one. He's got to drop one of these pitchers. Who are you dropping? Ryan Walker, Chase Burns, or Bailey Ober?
Well, you can't drop Chase Burns. He's striking out like 10 guys every game. Ryan Walker, I think, does he mean Ryan Nelson? I'm assuming he means Ryan Nelson. Or you mean Ryan Walker, the guy in San Francisco, because he spelled Ryan. Well, not sure if you mean Walker that I just talked about, then I would drop Walker.
All right, there you go. And the Mr. Waking Up's got a trade question: Noelvi Marte and Zach Gallen for Marcus Semien and Luis Castillo. I guess which side do you like here?
Interesting. The best player here is Marte. I mean, I really don't like Gallen. I haven't liked him all year, but I think I would maybe at least take a chance that he's better the rest of the season. I want the Marte side.
All right. And then Harry Brooks says, it looks like Acuna avoided serious injury, although I heard it's something with the calf Achilles, so they might be very careful with him. So when are we going to see him back?
Well, what I saw was 2 to 3 weeks is what they're saying. Look, nobody likes to victory lap injuries or busts or poor performances. But as I mentioned, one of my predictions right after the second half began doesn't look too bold now. I think Ronald Acuna is not going to be. Well, actually, I think I called him a sell high. I don't think Ronald Acuna is going to be carrying fantasy teams to championships. He already wasn't running. The stolen bases are basically just not going to be there. And now with this, forget it. Even when he comes back, the Braves are already talking like a team that's basically waving the white flag, even though they weren't sellers. That's the thing. This is one of those teams that's kind of quietly giving up because they didn't go out and sell a bunch of pieces, right? They weren't, they're not a team that you're like, oh, they're completely out of it. They're out of it. Every single pitcher they have in the rotation is hurt. Now what they're saying is that Stale and Schwellenbach and those guys, we might not see them till September, if at all. Well, why wouldn't they just shut Acuna down? If this team knows we're not making the playoffs, okay, we didn't sell off a bunch of pieces. We'll wait till next year. But if we're playing for next year, why would we take our guy who's hurt again, our best player, and risk him getting hurt again? I mean, I have serious concerns here. So 2 to 3 weeks is like the early side of it. But honestly, I don't think they're going to shut him down like rest of season, but I have serious concerns. I don't know if you're going to see him back much at all before September.
All right. So bad news. This one you thought you had a stud back. Maybe not. All right. F wants to know, are we adding Bailey Falter?
No. I think he's streamable. He's a streamer, but I don't see him racking up consistent, strikeouts plus being effective on a weekly basis. I think he's fine in spots.
All right. And then Neftali, what's up? He wants to know, he's saying the deadline's been crazy. Now that Michael Soroka is with the Cubs, is he a hold? We did talk about this briefly, but is Camilo Doval going to be the closer for the Yankees? And what about Griffin Jacks to the Royals?
All right. Yeah. Soroka, I got some attention, and Ethan, I see you asked the same thing about Soroka. Going to the Cubs. Okay. Well, it's an upgrade in terms of the team, right? He's on a team that's a contender versus the Nats. And I know a lot of people like to point to it. And look, I do this all the time, point to the expected stats. Well, his ratios aren't great, but his expected stats are much better. He should be doing better. But at the same time, this is a player who I don't expect him to really match up with the expected stats because he tends to get himself into trouble in one inning at a time. He's one of these guys who things will snowball for him and then it all, gets out of control. It's a trust issue with me, but also they didn't go out and get a solid rotation arm. I don't know that Mike Soroka is going to be in the rotation. I don't know what his role is going to be. He might be a long reliever here. He's been used in that role for Washington as well this year. He hasn't just been a starter. So I don't think he's a hold necessarily. I'm not big on Soroka. I'm just not. Is Duvall the closer for the Yankees? No, I think he's going to be their second, maybe third option. I see Bednar and Williams both ahead of him most likely. Jacks, I don't
went to the Rays, right? Not the Royals. He went to the Rays.
Yeah, it's the Rays. No, I don't think he's going to be the closer. So no, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of not really in on any of those guys.
All right, then Skywalker wants to know, in a head-to-head points redraft league, who's the better ad? Luis Robert Jr., who did not get traded, so he's going to continue to be terrible. I don't know who TON is. Cedric Mullins, who did get traded to the Mets, Colson Montgomery, or Matt Shaw?
TON, maybe. Is that Tyler O'Neill? Maybe.
Oh, maybe Tyler O'Neill. Sure.
Okay, it's a points league. Luis Robert Jr. did not get traded. He's still with the White Sox. He's still, I guess he got his batting average over 200, right? It's like 202 or something.
It might be. It doesn't matter. Do we care?
Still risky. Mullins is interesting, but I also don't feel like I'm convinced he's going to be out there every day now. He's one of these veterans that's part of a group of players that can contribute on a good team. And in points league, at-bats matter, right? Being out there on a regular basis matters. I think right now, I actually go Colson Montgomery with this group. I mean, he's hot. He's got good plate discipline. I mean, let's see him keep it going.
All right, there you go. Thank you. And then Ryan wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Brewers acquiring Shelby Miller?
It's good for them. It's not great for him in fantasy. They still have McGill. Uribe has been lights out as a setup man. So this is just depth for them. For Miller, I mean, it's nice that he gets to go to contender.
All right. Speaking of Miller, Brody Miller wants to know, can he drop Jax and Matone now?
Yes. And if you're not in a league that counts holds, I don't think either of these guys are getting consistent saves.
All right, and back to Naftali asking for a friend. His friend received an offer of Brian Wu plus Ranger Suarez for Zach Wheeler. Are you taking it?
Oh, that's tough. Generally speaking, I want the one dominant ace pitcher versus the two, mid-rotation type guys. I mean, I'm only taking this if I'm just really, really thin at starting pitching. I still like Brian Wu. I know he was bad the other day, but still, Brian Wu has been great this year. Ranger Suarez has been great this year. I still prefer to have Zach Wheeler.
All right. So tell him no. Keep Zach Wheeler. All right. Speaking of dropping Phil Matone, are you dropping him for Corbin Martin?
No, I don't think so. I think I feel better about Matone. He's been pretty good this year. Look, he might be the guy who gets saves in Texas. It's possible. I just don't want to count on it.
All right, and then Doug Baez. I guess he's worried because today Jonathan Aranda collided with Giancarlo Stanton, and whatever you feel about Giancarlo Stanton at this age of his career, he's still a mountain of a man, and Aranda left the game. So are you worried that Aranda is going to miss time? Does he need a replacement here in a 12-team league, and if so, who?
Yeah, this is tough, and I'm checking. It says extended time. X-rays came back negative, but he's expected to miss several weeks.
What?
Several. I just saw this. Just looked it up. Several weeks.
Why?
even though it's negative. So yeah, that's tough. That's a big blow. Um, so you need a second baseman. Well, 12-team league, realistically, who might be available that could help you at second base. Let's look at some options. Now, I'm assuming your league isn't crazy deep, and some of these guys might actually be available. Now the waiver wire video is coming out tomorrow. I can't say offhand I got any second baseman on there, but let's see. I mean, you could always do Otto Lopez. He's still kind of doing something right for the Marlins. He's fine. Jorge Polanco has, not been as great as he was early in the season, but that Mariners offense definitely looks a lot, more frightening now with Suarez and Naylor. So Polanco might be a decent fallback option for you.
All right. And then Adam wants to know, is Bailey Ober pitching this weekend?
I don't think so. I don't think he's quite close to coming back yet.
All right. Not quite yet. I see it. I'm skipping a lot of questions because you're getting a lot of the same questions like about Matone and guys like that we've already talked about. So trying to find questions that we haven't seen much. All right. Uwe2K wants to know, has his shares of Laureano, Suarez, and Naylor just been tanked?
Not tanked. Like I said with Suarez and Naylor at the beginning, Seattle it's not ideal. Right? It's just not a good place for hitters necessarily, but they'll still be productive. And it's not like these guys are going to all of a sudden turn into bums. So it's not ideal. Like Suarez would have been better off in a lot of other places, but he's still going to be one of the better third basemen out there in fantasy. He's still hit a bunch of home runs. And Naylor, I think, will mostly do the same thing. He's not a guy who relies on his power as much either. Laureano, it's interesting. Now, he should get more playing time. He should be. I would assume they're going to have him in there pretty much every day. It's not a better ballpark, but it's a better team. It's a better lineup. So no, I don't think any of these guys are tanked.
All right. What about Jesus Sanchez? Got traded from your Marlins to the Astros. Is he now worth a roster?
Yeah, so this is it's funny too, because just totally assumed that Sandy was going to get traded, Sandy Alcantara, and I even put him on the thumbnail because of course he's going to get traded. He correct me if I'm wrong. He's not been traded. So
he has not been traded.
Well, they did something. They traded Jesus Sanchez, and yeah, it's fine. Is he worth an outfield spot? It is more favorable, but I don't know if they're going to play him against lefties necessarily. I don't know he's going to get every day at bats. So it's a better park. It's a better team. He's streamable. I guess we'll put it that way.
All right. And then Captain Pie wants to know thoughts on Robert Suarez. Are we outright dropping at this point?
No. Don't drop him. Like I said, I'm not convinced that Mason Miller is just the guy and that Suarez is a setup man. It might even be the other way. Realistically, it might be a week-to-week situation. We'll see. Suarez just maintains that job, and then if he hits a rough patch, then they pivot to Miller. I haven't heard anything specifically as far as what their plan is. I honestly don't know if the Padres have a plan, or if they're just like I don't know what they're doing. Honestly, it's kind of bizarre. But no, don't drop Suarez.
All right, and then Benjamin's got a couple. He needs closer help in a 14-team head-to-head rotor league. Cade Smith, is he going to get the job done for him?
Yes. That Cade Smith, been saying it for like 2 weeks, add him. Not for reasons we expected. Didn't think that Clase would, potentially get the ban hammer for gambling, but here we are. So, yes, definitely pick up Cade Smith.
And then he also wants to say he's willing to give up Colin Ray. I guess this is to get Cade Smith, I assume. He could give up Colin Ray, Trevor Rogers, or Jose Sariano. Who would you give up to get Cade Smith? I assume that's what he's asking.
In any of them, but Ray would be my first choice.
All right, then F with an interesting one. Julio Rodriguez will be a top blank outfielder rest of the season.
Well, he's actually moved up this list kind of by default because guys keep getting hurt, right? Aaron Judge is on the IL, Ronald Acuna out for who knows how long. Um, let's see. I think he could be top 10. I mean, I'll just put it that way. I think he could be top 10. He's already heating up. This offense is getting better. I'm not going to go crazy and say he's like one of the 3 best, but I think that's fair.
Top 10, we shall see. The hype. Julio Rodriguez is going to be one of those guys. Always going to be hyped up. All right, Neftali. Who you like here? The Kid, Miz, or Carlos Rodon?
I think you got to take Rodon here because you legitimately have to wonder, are they going to put a cap on Miz and his innings? They should. If they're smart, they will. So, yeah, go with a veteran. Go with a guy who's going to be out there every 5 days on a great team. No questions, no concerns here. Yeah, the smart thing in fantasy is to do the boring thing here and go with a veteran.
Exactly. All right. Austin May wants to know, speaking of saves, Kevin Ginkel, Arizona. Are we ready to do this again?
No. This is another team. I mean, yeah, he's the guy because they literally have no other guys because their top 2 guys are both hurt, and then they just traded Miller. So, yeah, I guess he's the guy. But do you really? I mean, do you want those 2-3 saves to go along with like an ERA of 9 each week? I mean, if so, I guess that's fine.
All right. Adam wants to know, in a 12-teamer, who's better for saves rest of the season? Rodriguez from the Giants or Finnegan?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, this one is going to take a crystal ball, but I would probably. I mean, you're asking just as far as who gets more saves. I'll say it probably would be Rodriguez. It should be Rodriguez. I'll say Rodriguez.
All right. And then Uwe2K wants to know, is there reason to be worried about Mackenzie Gore or Ryan Pepio?
I don't think so. Gore hasn't been as good lately, but overall, it's nothing. There's nothing that really, is like a red flag to me. So I'm not particularly worried about them.
All right. And then a catcher question, Derek, Shea Langeliers, Ivan Herrera, or Augustin Martin rest of the season? Is that Augustin Ramirez?
Probably Ramirez, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who do you like rest of the season?
Well, these guys are all pretty close. I mean, these are all offensive-minded catchers. I think Herrera has been the best, and the thing is now, I think they finally have figured out the Cardinals just can't put this guy behind the plate. Like he's no longer going to be a catcher. He's just going to DH. I think that's the plan for him. Probably power-wise, if you're just looking for home runs, Langoliers or Ramirez. But I think overall, Herrera's probably your best option.
All right, and this is an interesting one. Apparently, Rosenthal, the reporter, what's his first name? I don't know his first name, but I know who he's talking about. Reported that the Padres want to stretch out Mason Miller into a starting pitcher next year. If that's the case, how high are you ranking Miller in 2026?
Oh, ranking for next year. I mean, it could work. Like I said, the only reason he hasn't been a starter is because of the injuries, right? They want to keep him fresh, and we've seen this, but we've also seen mixed results here. Like, okay, Garrett Crochet is the name that comes to mind, right? A guy who never, actually, I don't think he had ever even in pro ball been a starter, and they, finally made him a starter, and he's now one of the best starters in the game. We've also seen some other guys where it didn't work out. So I can't just immediately say he's going to be one of the best starters in the majors because it's not that simple. They're going to stretch him out. It's a process, and I mean, I think we could say based on talent, he could be a top 25 starting pitcher, and I say that only because also you've got to think they're going to put some sort of restriction on him too if it's his first year as a starter. Are they going to try stretching him out right now? They might. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I'm not convinced he's going to be their closer. I don't think they got him to be a closer. So, yeah, we still have to be realistic here. And somewhere in the 20s, early 20s, I guess, would be as far as SP.
All right. And then Darius wants to know, is Nestor Cortez a good pickup?
I thought about this as like one of my under the radar like sneaky moves. He could at least be valuable. I mean, it should be a deep enough league where you're wanting to start Nestor Cortez, but he's been on the IL and probably good for his value. He did get traded because coming back with the Brewers, there really wasn't room for him. They thought, well, maybe they have to go to a 6-man rotation. Is he just going to be a long reliever? Well, now he can be a starter again. I think Nestor Cortez might be a sneaky ad here, and if you need some depth in your rotation. I don't want to put my expectations too high, but at least he now has some value.
All right, there you go. And then Victor saying his team is Hunter Goodman, Bryce Harper, Mikhail Garcia, Rafael Devers, Matt McLean, Brent Rooker, Jurickson Profar, Kyle Stowers, Mookie Betts, Spencer Steer, Spencer Torkelson, and Tyler Soderstrom on the bench. His bats have been underperforming. Is it time to blow it up? It's a 12-team categories league.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Your team isn't. You have good players, except Mookie Betts has been killing you, right? He should have been leading the way here as one of your stars, and he hasn't. McLean has been underwhelming. Harper, of course, missed a lot of time. So this is one of the teams that really, if you look at it on paper, is good. You've kind of got all the right components, except for speed. You don't have a lot of speed. It's a couple of guys underperforming. It's your stars kind of who let you down here. So, did he say again? How deep was it? You said it was 12 team.
It's 12-team categories.
I don't know if I would blow it up necessarily, but I'll say again, if you can move Betts for a really high-end player, I mean, realistically, I don't know, you're still getting a star player in return for him. I would try to do that. I don't think you have to blow the whole thing up, though.
All right. Hang in there. You never know it'll turn around, but yeah, Betts maybe not going to do it for you. All right. Adam wants to know, what are your thoughts on Brenton Doyle's value rest of season?
Not much different than they have been.
Traded to the Yankees or the Dodgers like his teammate Ryan McMahon.
No. I don't know what happened with Brenton Doyle this year. Although I will say this, a few weeks ago, I discussed him. A couple times. I thought early in the season, okay, he'll turn it around. Maybe nice buy low. I mean, he's picked it up a little bit lately, but really stepping back and big picture, looking at it, it might not be that this year is the outlier. Maybe last year was the outlier. Like maybe this guy just isn't the star player. I don't expect a whole lot, honestly. I don't think you should count on him starting in your fantasy team.
Yeah, I've just kind of given up. I think I talked about this on Sunday. Like I'd streamed some of the Rockies earlier in the year when they had 5 games at home this week or 6 games at home this week, and it doesn't even matter. Like I have been starting Ryan McMahon every day, but that's because he's in the Yankees lineup now, not the Colorado lineup.
Exactly. No.
All right. Neftali wants to know, what is Jazz worth in a trade? Someone put him on the trade block, and he's asking for pitchers. So what pitchers do you think could get you Jazz?
I mean, his value should be pretty high. I would say not one of the aces, not top 10 to 15 pitcher, but maybe a step right below that. And so, I mean, I don't know what pitchers you are thinking about specifically. You say someone put them on the table. So, I mean, I guess if you tell me what pitchers you have, then I could tell you who might be worth it. But I would say probably that next tier of pitchers right below the top, the aces that you would say. Christopher Sanchez, maybe. I mean, Matthew Boyd has been great, but I would give him up to get Jazz. I think I would do that. Maybe like your Robbie Rays, those types of pitchers.
All right. There you go. Thank you. And then F wants to know, what is the deal with Luke Keeschel?
Should be back soon. I would hope. I was hoping it would be by now, but hey, the good news is the Twins had that fire sale. Like, there's plenty of room now. Like, pick your spot. You can play anywhere. They're realistically they'll probably just DH him. But here's what I saw. I mean, this is like a week and a half ago. He's already playing rehab games. I think it should just be a matter of days. I haven't heard any updates recently, but honestly, I think they were just waiting for all this to shake out. And now we should see him up pretty soon. I'm hoping we do.
All right. And then we got scroll up a little bit here. Jason, 12 team head to head. He's desperate for pitching. He's got Otani, the batter, not the pitcher. Lawrence Butler, Jackson Churio, Wyatt Langford, Kyle Stowers. So if you need a pitching help, who would you trade here, and what would you be looking for in return? Like, which pitcher would you be looking for? He's also got Brent Rooker, he said.
Well, so you got some depth at outfield. That's good. Deal from that depth. I would probably say, I talked about Wyatt Langford. Actually, I think it was that same video. It was like a week or so ago, maybe a week and a half ago. Right after I said Ronald Acuna, I would sell if I could. I think I said kind of the same thing about Wyatt Langford. We keep waiting for this turnaround, for this breakout. And sure, maybe it happens, but he's still striking out a ton. Maybe it doesn't happen. If somebody still believes in Langford and you can get one of those pitchers that I actually just mentioned, some of those, next tier kind of starting pitchers, maybe even like a Brian Wu, somebody like that. Yeah, I would do it. I think Langford is the one I would try to dangle out there first.
All right, then, Victor, what do you think about this strategy? Would it be a good strategy to sell out on either having really good hitting or really good pitching? So just say, like, you know what? I'm going to trade all my hitting to get a stacked pitching lineup, or vice versa.
Yeah, I get that. Look, the key to winning is you got to have a stranglehold of at least one or two categories, right? You got to be at least near the top. And you can get by. I'm not a big punting guy. I don't like to just give up on a category because you're basically saying I'm playing from behind here, right? I'm going to take the L here. That means I've got to dominate the other categories. I don't think that's very smart. Now, it's already August, starting tomorrow. You already know in your categories, you already know which categories you're going to be ahead or behind in. So if you're already almost either last or dead last in the category, okay, whatever you got, let's say, again, this is a simple, example, but okay, let's say you're dead last in saves. Well, so if you have any closers who get you any saves that have any value, you might as well trade them, right? Same thing if it was like steals or homers. So you might as well do what you can to bolster those other categories. Now, as far as just hitting, just pitching, I think it's kind of along the same lines. You could do that, just this is a time to evaluate where you can make gains and try to help those specific categories. So if that means giving up a good pitcher to help you hitting, that's fine.
All right, and then Pierre Camus Enjoyer wants to know now that all the trades have been made, we know who's got what, who's making a run, who's not. What's your World Series prediction?
All right. Well, disclaimer, I'm not a fan of any of these teams. I'm a very sad, lonely Marlins fan. My team has zero chance to make the World Series, even if they're not eliminated. I get a feeling that the Mets made enough moves. I already liked what they had there. I think the Mets will get by in the National League. I think that's the team I'm going for. And you got to kind of feel like it's the Tigers in the AL. I mean, they not just because they happen to have the best record, but they made enough moves. I think they've got enough all told that they can challenge the Yankees. So I'm going to go Mets Tigers.
All right, Mets Tigers. That would be an interesting one. F wants to know, is Dodger pitcher Sheehan finally done starting for the year? They did trade Dustin May today.
Yeah, Dustin May definitely not starting anymore. He's right now going to be kind of like that piggyback guy, that long relief. But look, Blake Snell's coming back. Doesn't mean he can't get hurt again. Doesn't mean someone else is going to get hurt again. It's the Dodgers. Ohtani already, the pitcher, right? That other guy already having issues. He'll probably start here and there again. Now, is he going to be a fixture in the rotation? No, probably not. But he'll probably make some more appearances starting.
All right. And then Ethan says, all this talk about Miller, call me crazy, but he wants to drop him for Randy Rodriguez. Would you do it?
You know what, Ethan? It's not crazy. And you're thinking the right way, logically. Who's going to get me more saves the rest of the season? You know what? If I had to put money, if you forced me right now to put money on one of these guys, I think I might pick Rodriguez. But it's too soon to say that. So don't drop him now, but be ready to do this. Now, if you think somebody else is going to pick up Randy Rodriguez before you do that, okay, pick him up. I don't think Miller's the guy I would drop. I would try to drop somebody else.
All right. And then Uwe2K wants to know better Churio replacement. Did Jackson Churio also get hurt today?
I think he's like day to day. If I recall, it's nothing serious. He's banged up, but
All right. So if he needs a replacement here, who would you go with? Johan Duran, Anderson Barger, Andrew Vaughn, Austin Hayes, Randy Arozarena, or Miguel Vargas?
And then Duran did not get traded. I think you got to go Duran here. I know, crazy enough, Andrew Vaughn, just like a different person. But you got to go Duran here.
Well, what's going on with Andrew Vaughn? He's just like red hot right now.
It's like he was liberated. As soon as he left the White Sox, he's like, all right, now I can start playing.
He's on the Brewers now. I see. All right. So speaking of Chris Paddock, now Detroit Tigers had a great start for them. Is he a better ad than anyone among Jose Soriano, Trevor Rogers, or Casey Mize?
The first two, yes, but I still would rather have Mize than Paddock. I mean, Mize has been pretty solid all year.
All right, and then N6 RCS wants to know, will Mick Abel or Taj Bradley make the Twins rotation? I'm assuming means immediately. And does Sandy Alcantara and Nestor Cortez have any streaming appeal?
Well, that's a good question. I did say this, and probably nobody remembered or saw, but I said if Sandy Alcantara does not get traded and he's stuck in Miami the rest of the season, I'm just not going to talk about him the rest of the year. But it hasn't started yet. So he'll have streaming appeal. I mean, we'll see. Nestor, if he's starting, absolutely. Yeah, they both have streaming appeal. Bradley and Abel, Bradley, I think, should definitely make the rotation. I mean, they've got plenty of openings there now, right? They traded away Paddock. Pablo Lopez will be back eventually, but not yet. Abel, I'm not sure. I mean, they might decide to give him a little more seasoning in AAA, but I think Bradley most likely will be in the rotation.
All right. And then are you ready for a question you did not think you were going to be answering at the end of July?
Does it involve Joey Boyle?
No. Worse. Rest of the season, do you want Jackson Merrill or Jesus Sanchez?
Oh.
Here we are. Jackson Merrill has gone from everybody's favorite young future stud to, would you just prefer Jesus Sanchez at this point?
I would not prefer Jesus Sanchez. Come on, Jackson Merrill's got to do more than Sanchez. It's not an unfair question, but I got to go Merrill here. Does he supplant Cam Smith? No, he will complement Cam Smith, right? He'll play against some righties. They'll mix and match. He'll start like 4, maybe 5 times a week, but I wouldn't get too excited about Jesus Sanchez.
So I checked just to make sure, since we last talked about Jackson Merrill, he still has 7 home runs and 1 stolen base on the season. Still.
Not much has changed.
Man, that's crazy. Crazy bad this year. He's got to be one of the biggest busts in fantasy baseball this year. I mean, he was like, what, a 4th, 5th round pick?
At this point, absolutely. Definitely a bust.
All right. Let's see. Joe Boyle disrespect. All right. Are you disappointed by the lack of? I mean, I don't think you are disappointed by the lack of Red Sox outfield moves because you're not a big Red Sox fan. But do you wish they did something here?
I didn't necessarily assume that Duran would get traded. I knew it was possible. Yeah, I know it's kind of a logjam there. Um, yeah, Rafaela, I think they already got him slated to be the second baseman. Also, Marcelo Mayer is hurt, and so that takes another player, young player, out of the picture there. So, like, they need some more help in the infield. Story said at short, he's playing great again. I mean, Devers is gone, so I think they're fine now with what they've got. Um, they'll figure it out next year. But look, having too much talent in the outfield it's not a bad thing.
All right. Then Darius wants to know: should he try to sell Acuna and Chris Sale? Can you even sell these guys?
It would be a hard sell to trade a guy who's on the IL and might not come back till September, but sure, if you can sell them, I mean, you say, well, you're selling low. It's better than getting nothing from these guys who are just on your IL. So I would rather sell low than to not sell at all and just have these guys contribute nothing to your fantasy team.
All right. And then N6 RCS, last question. Christian Campbell's heating up. Been playing first base in AAA. Do we see him this year?
We'll see him back for sure before the end of the season. Are we going to see him real soon? I don't know. It might be another couple weeks. Maybe they wait till September. So, and even then, he's got to prove that he can hit major league pitching, not just AAA. So he'll get called up eventually, though.
All right. And then Benjamin, remember 14-team roto head to head. He's got Augustin Ramirez at catcher. He's got playing Hunter Goodman in the outfield, along with Stowers, Addison Barger, Adolis Garcia on the bench. Is Joe Adell a better ad than any of these players? Joe Adell just out there in a 14-teamer.
Surprising. And I remember he asked about this the other day. So Garcia did not get traded. The Rangers, kind of weird. I guess the Rangers think they have a shot this year. They actually were kind of buyers. Weird. I don't know. Do you still have Joe Adell on your team?
I do. I start him like every game. I just don't even really think about it. I just go like, oh, whatever. Like, yeah, I know he's not going to help me every day, but he's going to, pop a home run here and there, drive in a run, score a run, whatever. Like, I look at the waiver wire and I'm like, I don't understand how Joe Adell is still out there in a 14-team league. Like, I look at our waiver wire, like who's the highest rostered? If I look at our waiver wire outfield, the highest rostered player is Brendan Donovan, who I dropped way back, and then the next highest rostered player is TJ Friedel. Like, there's nothing. Like, I might as well just keep rolling out Joe Adell. The guy might hit 30 home runs this year. Yeah, he's gonna have a stretches where he doesn't do anything for 3 games, but then he hits a 2-run home run. And it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, he still has that upside, and who knows? Maybe he heats up. He's one of those players that if he gets hot, you wish you had him. Like, I wouldn't drop Stowers for him. I still like Stowers. I mean, I still like Barger. Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't know if I like him better than those players you already have. So I think right now he's not exactly going, homer crazy. He hasn't hit a homer for a little while. I think you're fine with what you got.
All right, and then all right, well, this one should be pretty easy from Adam. Rest of the season, Rodriguez or Vest?
Rodriguez. Vest has been good, but again with Finnegan there, yeah, these guys are going to be splitting saves. It's not like a sure thing that Rodriguez is the guy. He should be the guy, but of course, a lot of these teams don't do what they should do. It doesn't have to make sense. But yeah, I think we got to go Rodriguez.
All right, and then any other change of scenery Vaughn type players you like from this deadline?
Good question. Yeah, it's a lot of times it's those under the radar moves that you don't even talk about, don't think about, and wind up, being helpful. I did notice, and there's a lot of moves that really don't matter. It's a lot of moves that hurt. these players' value. I mentioned Taj Bradley earlier. Now, this might be a good change of scenery for him because for some reason, again, the Rays are just one of these teams you don't ever really know what they're thinking. I'm not sure what they're doing. They're not buyers or sellers. They kind of just made a lot of lateral moves. And like, what? Believe it or not, Curtis Mead for the Rays, even though he's going to the White Sox, this actually means he should maybe be able to get regular playing time. So if Curtis Mead actually gets to play every day, then maybe, that will be enough for him to kind of heat up because he's a guy who's talented. He just, he was Raid. He just didn't get a chance to play consistently. So that's one guy I might look out for.
All right. And then we'll end with this. Anthony jumping in here very late. Said he's sure you already missed it. Yes, you did. But real quick, give him the cliff notes here. What's your take on Mason Miller and Robert Suarez?
Good. I'm glad, Anthony. I'm glad you're on here. Actually, I just want to make sure since we're at the end here, I messaged you back because I know you had messaged me on the league thing. Let me know if you got my message because I don't know how the new Yahoo Messenger thing works. It's kind of weird. So if you didn't get my email, let me know. Mason Miller, his value might go down being in San Diego because he's in a better team. The problem is they've already got a closer. He may not be the closer. They're talking about plans to make him a starter maybe next year. Obviously, they wouldn't do it right now. Yeah, Mason Miller might take a big hit, but for sure it's a hit right now. And Suarez, again, I'm not going to assume. A lot of people just think, well, now Suarez is dead. Miller's their closer. It might be the other way around. So we're really going to have to see how this plays out. But my gut tells me right now Suarez is still the closer.
All right. There we go. And we're just over the hour mark. I think we got you guys caught up on everything. We got all the questions answered here. Appreciate you guys being on. Don't forget, we will be back here Sunday to wrap up the week that was and to get you ready for those 2-star streamers for the next week. We're in the stretch run here for fantasy baseball. It's getting crucial that you're winning as many of your matchups or taking those categories to get into your fantasy playoffs. Let's do it. We'll be here all the way to the end to help you guys win, of course. And don't forget, tomorrow we got the waiver wire video coming out. Always a must watch. All right, everybody. Appreciate you all, and we will see you back here on Sunday.